Consider the profound tranquility that descends as you prepare for bed each night. You lie down, close your eyes, perhaps just as you have done countless times over many decades, anticipating the restorative embrace of sleep. In that quietude, with no struggle, no pain, just the gentle descent into unconsciousness, some individuals experience a cessation of life itself, never to awaken. This silent, often unacknowledged reality unfolds far more frequently than most people comprehend. Annually, hundreds of thousands of adults, particularly those over the age of 50, succumb to heart attacks and strokes while peacefully asleep. The most harrowing aspect of this grim statistic is not some rare exotic disease, nor an exceptional streak of bad luck, nor even an inescapable genetic predisposition acting in isolation. Rather, for the vast majority of these individuals, the tragic cause was rooted in common, seemingly innocuous nightly rituals they performed, fully convinced of their complete safety. In the forthcoming revelations, we will meticulously unveil the pervasive nighttime habits that insidiously transform the very act of sleep into the most perilous period of the entire day for your cardiovascular system and your brain. More critically, I will meticulously delineate the precise, actionable adjustments you can implement, beginning as soon as tonight, to profoundly safeguard your well-being. What you are about to assimilate is not a mere theoretical construct, nor is it a manipulative scare tactic designed to instill fear. It is, unequivocally, a stark medical reality, underscored by decades of intensive research and clinical observation. My name is Dr. Josh Axe, and my life's work has been dedicated to the intricate study of the human heart, especially in individuals navigating the complexities of life beyond 50 years of age. If you fall within this demographic, the profound implications of this message could, quite literally, be the difference between life and death. It is imperative to deeply contemplate the physiological symphony that commences once the household lights dim and a pervasive stillness settles in. Most of us operate under the comforting misconception that when we finally surrender to sleep, our bodies simply power down, entering a quiescent state of passive rest. We often conceptualize it akin to parking a finely tuned automobile in a garage and shutting off its engine, expecting a period of complete inactivity. However, for the extraordinarily complex and ceaselessly operating cardiovascular system, sleep represents anything but a shutdown. It is, in fact, the most dynamically active and critically vital period across the entire 24-hour cycle. This is the designated window during which your heart, that tireless pump, is optimally programmed to decelerate its rhythm. Your blood pressure is intended to gracefully descend to its lowest diurnal point, and your magnificent brain is tasked with the crucial chore of meticulously flushing out the accumulated cellular debris, metabolic toxins, and waste products that inevitably aggregate during your demanding waking hours. This sacred interval is also when your cells embark on their essential processes of regeneration, and your intricate network of blood vessels diligently undertakes the repair of micro-damages incurred from the stresses and strains of the preceding day. We have a medical term for this indispensable phase, the dipping phase, and it represents the singular opportunity your heart truly receives to recuperate and recover from the incessant, often relentless demands of living. Envision your heart as an unparalleled pump, one that has been relentlessly toiling without a single second of respite for perhaps 60, 70, or even 80 years. It knows no concept of a weekend furlough. It never partakes in a refreshing vacation. Sleep, and specifically this vital dipping phase, is the solitary reprieve it is afforded throughout the entire day. Yet, for millions upon millions of Americans, particularly those beyond the age of 60, this critical, life-sustaining recovery tragically fails to materialize. Instead of gently resting and rejuvenating, their hearts are cruelly coerced into an accelerated, strenuous pace. Rather than their blood pressure gracefully lowering, it distressingly spikes to dangerously elevated levels, magnitudes that the human body was fundamentally never designed to endure while in a horizontal, supine position. When we are upright, gravity naturally assists in the efficient circulation of blood throughout the vascular tree. But when you lie perfectly flat on your back, your heart is compelled to radically alter its entire biomechanical strategy, grappling with increased resistance. The most alarming aspect of this internal turmoil is your utter unconsciousness during its unfolding. You remain blissfully unaware that your body is locked in a state of profound physiological panic, relentlessly struggling for survival until the point of no return is reached. You are, in essence, fighting a desperate battle for your life while simultaneously attempting to dream, and your heart, in its silent, tireless struggle, is metaphorically screaming for urgent assistance as you lie fast asleep, utterly oblivious to the escalating danger silently accumulating within your very core. Let us now illuminate the very first insidious habit that so frequently initiates this midnight physiological panic. It is an activity almost universally practiced, and one that the vast majority of individuals innocently believe constitutes a normal, even commendable, part of a relaxing and winding down evening routine. I am, of course, referring to the pervasive practice of consuming a substantial, heavy meal late in the evening. And here, I must emphasize, I'm not merely alluding to the consumption of processed junk food or caloric fast food items. Even a seemingly healthy and generous dinner, perhaps a succulent steak, a generous portion of potatoes, and a fresh salad, consumed at 8 or 9 o'clock in the evening, can become an unacknowledged death sentence for someone past their 50th birthday. You might genuinely believe you are simply providing essential fuel for your body, but in reality, you are inadvertently sabotaging your deeply ingrained internal circadian clock and placing immense stress on your core systems. The underlying science explaining this phenomenon is remarkably straightforward, akin to a fundamental lesson from 5th grade biology. To truly grasp this, I urge you to vividly picture the following. Your body possesses a finite, precisely regulated volume of blood, typically circulating at around 5 liters in total. When you ingest a large, calorically dense meal, your intricate digestive system instantaneously assumes absolute priority for the allocation of your body's precious resources. Your stomach and intestines, in their monumental task of breaking down, churning, and absorbing the complex nutrients from that food, demand an enormous, disproportionate quantity of that vital blood supply. This gargantuan digestive effort necessitates an almost unbelievable expenditure of metabolic energy. However, precisely at the moment you recline to sleep, your heart is physiologically attempting to transition into its serene, low-power recovery mode, seeking restorative calm. By choosing to eat late, you are ruthlessly forcing your heart into a grueling blood flow war. On one front, your stomach is aggressively siphoning a massive volume of blood downwards to manage the arduous process of digestion, while simultaneously, your heart is desperately struggling to maintain sufficient blood flow upwards against gravity to adequately perfuse your brain and other indispensable vital organs. Envision the sheer impossibility of attempting to run a full, strenuous marathon while concurrently trying to take a restorative nap. The two activities are diametrically opposed and fundamentally incompatible. When your stomach is compelled to work overtime, vigorously churning and digesting at 2 or 3 a.m., your heart rate, contrary to its intended nightly dip, does not descend to its peaceful resting state. Concurrently, your blood pressure steadfastly remains elevated because your body's primitive internal alarm system mistakenly perceives itself to still be in an active work mode rather than a state of rest. In the precise terminology of the medical world, we categorize these individuals as non-dippers. If your blood pressure conspicuously fails to dip or adequately lower itself during the nocturnal hours, your statistical risk of suffering a catastrophic stroke in the vulnerable early morning period escalates by an astonishing margin of more than 400%. It is, unequivocally, the single greatest and most reliable predictor of an imminent cardiovascular event in the senior population. Let me share a poignant example from my own clinical experience. A 68-year-old patient, whom I'll call Bill. Bill was, by all conventional appearances, a remarkably healthy individual. He was a non-smoker, maintained a consistent routine of walking his dog daily, and otherwise seemed to lead a conscientious lifestyle. However, Bill harbored a profound affection for a generous bowl of pasta, accompanied by thick, crusty bread, consumed right before he retired to bed, every single night without fail. He often confided in me that this ritual left him feeling pleasantly heavy and, paradoxically, helped him drift off to sleep more rapidly. What Bill remained tragically unaware of was that as he lay supposedly resting, his heart was relentlessly pounding at an accelerated rate of 90 beats per minute, solely engaged in the monumental effort of digesting that substantial pasta meal. His body was sweating profusely, his arteries were subjected to immense, sustained pressure, and his brain was utterly deprived of the profound, restorative, deep sleep it so desperately required. One fateful night, his beleaguered heart simply could no longer endure this internal blood flow war. He awoke abruptly in the absolute dead of night, drenched in a cold sweat, experiencing a sensation akin to an elephant pressing down with immense force upon his chest. Bill was incredibly fortunate. His vigilant wife heard his agonizing struggle, and with swift action, he was transported to the hospital in the nick of time, ultimately surviving. However, a heartbreakingly large number of individuals are not so blessed. They may reside alone, or their partners might be heavy sleepers, tragically remaining in that silent, eternal state of unconsciousness. 2. Proactively safeguard yourself. Starting tonight, your final substantial bite of food absolutely must be consumed at least 3 to 4 hours before your head gently settles onto that pillow. You must consciously grant your heart the indispensable permission to truly rest. And it is a physiological impossibility for your heart to achieve that restorative state if it is relentlessly enslaved to the demands of your stomach and your insistent late-night cravings. Beyond the immediate cardiovascular impact, late-night eating triggers a deleterious hormonal cascade within your body. It provokes a significant spike in your insulin levels. When insulin remains perpetually elevated, your body's crucial capacity to produce the growth hormones indispensable for tissue repair is severely hampered. Consequently, not only is your heart forced to work arduously and ceaselessly, but it simultaneously loses its intrinsic ability to effectively mend the cumulative wear and tear inflicted upon its delicate valves and resilient vessels. This insidious mechanism represents a double-edged sword, cutting deeply into both your long-term longevity and the foundational health of your heart. Yet there exists another habit, even more ubiquitous than late-night eating, and disturbingly, it is one that many individuals actively engage in because they genuinely believe they are making prudent, health-conscious choices. I encounter this exact scenario from my patients every single day in the clinic. They often articulate, with sincere conviction, "Dr. Axe, I conscientiously cease all liquid intake after 6 p.m. because I simply wish to avoid being disturbed 3 or more times in the dead of night to use the bathroom." I empathize profoundly with this sentiment. Fragmented sleep is undeniably frustrating. It significantly elevates the risk of perilous falls in dimly lit conditions, especially for seniors, and it invariably leads to a pervasive feeling of exhaustion and diminished cognitive function the following day. Nevertheless, I implore you to listen with utmost attentiveness to the profound and perilous physiological events that transpire within the delicate confines of your veins and arteries when you retire to bed in a state of dehydration. Your blood, that magnificent river of life, is fundamentally comprised of a substantial proportion of water. When your body experiences dehydration, your total blood volume inevitably diminishes. However, the non-aqueous solid components of your blood, the cholesterol, the platelets, the calcium, and the various metabolic waste products, regrettably remain at their constant concentrations. This critical imbalance means that your blood progressively transforms into a thick, viscous, sticky, and sluggish fluid. To illustrate this vividly, imagine the immense effort and friction involved in attempting to pump thick, cold maple syrup through an infinitesimally tiny plastic straw. That exact Herculean task is precisely what you are unwittingly demanding of your already aging and hardworking heart at the vulnerable hour of 4 a.m. When your blood achieves this alarming viscosity, the friction it generates against the inner walls of your arteries dramatically escalates. This persistent internal friction, in turn, provokes systemic inflammation, and it is this chronic inflammation that serves as the insidious precursor to the detrimental buildup of arterial plaque. As you continue to sleep through the night, your body is perpetually, albeit imperceptibly, losing moisture. With every exhalation, you release a measurable quantity of water vapor into the air. With every instance of perspiration, no matter how slight, you are further depleting your body's water reserves. If you commence your night's rest in an already dehydrated state, by the time the critical hour of 3 a.m. rolls around, your blood will have attained its absolute maximum thickness and sluggishness. This precise window of time is what we ominously refer to as the golden hour for blood clots. Because the blood is moving with such agonizing slowness, the platelets, those tiny blood cells crucial for clotting, begin to aggregate and clump together, much like wet sand compacting. Should one of these nascent, minute clumps become lodged in a particularly narrow or stiffened vessel within your heart or your brain, the vital flow of oxygen-rich blood is abruptly arrested, and tragically, the lights go out. This profound physiological vulnerability is precisely why the highest incidence of devastating strokes and heart attacks is concentrated in the pre-dawn hours. Your blood was simply too thick, too viscous to smoothly navigate the intricate labyrinth of your internal circulatory pipes. The judicious solution is emphatically not to deluge yourself with an entire gallon of water immediately before bedtime, as this would undeniably disrupt your sleep further and introduce other complications. The optimal approach is a steady, gentle trickle. A modest 4-ounce glass of room temperature water, consumed approximately an hour before you retire to bed, combined with a quick pre-sleep trip to the bathroom, will inflict significantly less harm upon your precious sleep than the profound damage inflicted upon your heart by thick, stagnant blood. Consider this simple act as akin to thoroughly greasing the internal pipes. For the demanding night ahead, your paramount objective is for your blood to flow like a vibrant, free-flowing river, teeming with life, not stagnate and coalesce like a sluggish, treacherous swamp. Now let us turn our attention to the silent, often overlooked thief of cardiovascular health that far too many seniors casually dismiss, erroneously believing it to be merely a normal, benign aspect of aging, the pervasive sound of snoring. While we frequently make light of snoring, transforming it into the subject of jests and humorous anecdotes, for a substantial portion of the population, it stands as an urgent, unmistakable warning sign of a potentially deadly underlying medical condition. If you frequently awaken suddenly, gasping violently for air, or if your observant spouse reports that you appear to cease breathing entirely for several agonizing seconds before emitting a loud, disruptive snorting sound, you are unequivocally in grave danger. In these recurring moments of airway obstruction, you are imposing an absolutely massive, almost unbearable physiological tax upon your critically important cardiovascular system. This condition is medically known as sleep apnea. However, for a more visceral and accurate understanding, I want you to conceptualize it as recurrent nighttime suffocation. Every single time your airway becomes occluded and you momentarily cease breathing, the oxygen levels saturating your blood catastrophically plummet. Your brain, that extraordinarily sensitive and oxygen-hungry organ that governs every facet of your being, instantaneously registers this terrifying deprivation, interpreting it as a direct threat to your very existence. In a state of utter, primitive panic, your brain immediately unleashes a massive, powerful jolt of adrenaline, the quintessential fight-or-flight hormone, directing it straight to your heart, compelling it to forcefully jolt you awake, thus compelling you to gasp for that life-sustaining breath. Your heart rate, which should ideally be maintaining a peaceful, steady rhythm of around 60 beats per minute during sleep, might violently leap to an alarming 120 beats per minute in a mere split second. Concurrently, your blood pressure alarmingly skyrockets to dangerously elevated levels, readings that would be considered exceptionally high even if you were actively engaged in a physical struggle or confronting an intruder. This harrowing physiological ordeal can repeat itself 20, 30, or even an astonishing 50 times every single hour. throughout the night. Imagine, if you will, if someone were to intentionally enter your bedroom every few minutes while you were desperately attempting to sleep and detonate a loud, jarring balloon directly next to your ear. That excruciating, repetitive shock is precisely what your heart is enduring, night after relentless night. This unceasing, cumulative shock to your delicate cardiovascular system, occurring night after agonizing night, progressively scars the vital heart muscle itself. It causes the normally flexible walls of your heart chambers to become stiff, rigid, and pathologically thickened. Eventually, this chronic stress leads to the development of a serious cardiac arrhythmia known as atrial fibrillation, which is a rather sophisticated medical term for describing a condition where your heart loses its natural, synchronized rhythm, and instead of executing a strong, steady, efficient pump, it begins to beat erratically like a bag of wiggling worms. When the heart chambers merely wiggle and twitch ineffectively rather than contracting forcefully to pump blood forward, blood inevitably begins to pool and stagnate in the corners of these inefficiently beating chambers. This pooled, sluggish blood under these conditions subsequently transforms into dangerous blood clots. These perilous clots, once formed, can eventually dislodge and travel through the bloodstream, ultimately reaching the delicate vessels of the brain. This, chillingly, is the precise mechanism by which a seemingly innocuous snore can ultimately culminate in a devastating, life-altering stroke. If you, or someone you share your life with, frequently snores, or if you consistently wake feeling like an exhausted zombie, even after believing you've slept for a full 8 hours, it is an absolute imperative that you treat this condition with the utmost seriousness. This is not simply an irritating nocturnal sound. It is a profound cardiac emergency that is insidiously playing out in agonizing slow motion every single night within your own body. Many individuals understandably resist the notion of undergoing a sleep study or utilizing a CPAP machine, often citing the perceived inconvenience or the hassle involved. But let me pose a critical question for your earnest consideration. Is the minor inconvenience of utilizing a specialized machine at night truly more burdensome or problematic than the life-altering consequences of requiring a wheelchair, a feeding tube, and round-the-clock care following a severe, debilitating stroke? Sometimes, even a minor adjustment, such as simply changing your sleeping position, transitioning from sleeping on your back to sleeping on your side, perhaps aided by a supportive body pillow, can sometimes suffice to open that compromised airway just enough to avert catastrophe and potentially save your life. It is an astonishingly small adjustment that can yield truly massive dividends in terms of long-term cardiovascular health. Furthermore, we must address a deeply personal, often overlooked pitfall that many individuals encounter: the insidious medicine cabinet trap. This particular caution is directed squarely at every individual who conscientiously takes prescription medications for the management of high blood pressure, elevated cholesterol levels, or other critical aspects of heart health. I routinely observe that many of my patients exhibit exemplary discipline. They never, under any circumstances, miss a prescribed dose of their medication. However, a significant number of these diligent individuals are inadvertently taking their vital medicine at the fundamentally incorrect time of day. The common habit for most people is to ingest their blood pressure pills in the morning, seamlessly integrating it into their daily getting ready routine, often right alongside their morning cup of coffee. But I urge you to recall the crucial point I elucidated earlier regarding the dangerous midnight blood pressure spike. For a substantial cohort of individuals over the age of 60, their highest, most perilous, and most uncontrolled blood pressure readings do not occur amidst the stress of a demanding workday or during periods of acute anxiety. Instead, these critical hypertensive episodes frequently manifest while they are deeply asleep, specifically during the active and often vivid dream state known as the REM, rapid eye movement, phase of sleep, when the brain is particularly engaged. If you are consistently taking your blood pressure medication at, say, 8 a.m., the therapeutic concentration of that crucial drug in your bloodstream might be precipitously waning, its efficacy diminishing precisely at the moment you require it most. that dangerously vulnerable window between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. Recent, large-scale medical studies, meticulously conducted across diverse populations, have conclusively demonstrated that for a specific and significant demographic of seniors, the simple strategic alteration of shifting their blood pressure medication from a morning regimen to an evening regimen resulted in an astounding reduction in their risk of experiencing a fatal heart attack by nearly 50%. Pause for a moment and truly absorb the monumental significance of that statistic. You are not being asked to adopt an entirely new pharmaceutical drug. You are not being asked to incur additional financial expenditures. And you are certainly not being asked to contend with a new array of potentially disruptive side effects. You are merely simply changing the precise timing. You are merely altering the specific time of day when you swallow that small yet profoundly impactful pill. This seemingly minor adjustment fundamentally changes the pharmacokinetics of the drug, how it is absorbed, distributed, metabolized, and eliminated by your body, ensuring that its peak therapeutic efficacy precisely coincides with your body's most acutely vulnerable nocturnal moments. Now, I must be unequivocally clear on this crucial point. I am a doctor communicating on the vast platform of the internet. I am emphatically not your personal treating physician. Every individual's unique physiological makeup, medical history, and specific medication regimen are distinct. Therefore, you must, under no circumstances, unilaterally alter your medication schedule without first engaging in a comprehensive discussion and obtaining explicit approval from your qualified physician. Some medications, for instance, such as diuretics or water pills, are still most appropriately taken in the morning to prevent frequent nocturnal trips to the bathroom. However, it is absolutely vital that you initiate this pivotal conversation with your healthcare provider. Call their office tomorrow and articulate this precise question. Doctor, based on my most recent blood pressure readings, my sleep patterns, and my overall health profile, would I potentially be safer and better protected by taking my prescribed dose before I go to bed? This single inquiry could genuinely represent the most critically important medical decision you make for your long-term health and survival. Finally, I wish to illuminate a crucial yet frequently overlooked environmental factor that profoundly impacts your sleep and cardiovascular health: the physical environment in which you slumber. This is what I term the temperature trap. Many of us, particularly as we gracefully advance in years, naturally gravitate towards the comforting embrace of a warm, cozy room. We often instinctively elevate the thermostat to a snug 75 degrees Fahrenheit, don our heaviest flannel pajamas, and luxuriate under a substantial pile of thick blankets. However, I must convey a stark physiological truth. Your heart, in its valiant efforts to achieve restorative sleep, absolutely despises excessive heat. To successfully enter that profound, deeply restorative state where your body actively repairs your arteries, meticulously flushes toxins, and gently coaxes your entire nervous system from a state of alert vigilance to one of serene rest, your core body temperature must experience a subtle yet crucial drop of approximately 2 degrees Fahrenheit. If your bedroom environment is maintained at an excessively high temperature, your body's intrinsic thermoregulatory mechanisms struggle to efficiently release that internal heat through your skin. Consequently, your heart is forced to compensate by beating faster and pumping a greater volume of blood to the superficial layers of your skin, effectively attempting to function like an overworked radiator in an overheating automobile. You are, in essence, subjecting your heart to the equivalent of an 8-hour continuous treadmill workout, all while you mistakenly believe you are enjoying peaceful, recuperative rest. The scientifically established ideal temperature range for optimal heart safety and restorative sleep lies precisely between 65 and 70 degrees Fahrenheit. I fully acknowledge that this range might sound quite chilly to some individuals accustomed to warmer sleeping environments, but this is, unequivocally, the Goldilocks Goldilocks zone for optimal human biology and cardiovascular function. This precise temperature allows your delicate blood vessels to naturally relax and dilate, permits your nervous system to gracefully transition from a state of heightened alert to one of profound tranquility, and enables your heart rate to comfortably descend to its lowest, most physiologically healthy point. Conversely, resting in an excessively ice-cold room also poses its own set of dangers, as it triggers your blood vessels to constrict or clamp down in an attempt to conserve body heat, which, counterintuitively, causes your blood pressure to spike. The ultimate objective, therefore, is to meticulously discover that perfect, harmonious balance. If you tend to struggle with feeling cold, a pragmatic and effective solution is to utilize a warm blanket specifically for your feet, ensuring your extremities remain comfortably warm while deliberately keeping the surrounding air you are breathing cool and crisp. Your hardworking heart will undoubtedly express its gratitude for this thoughtful consideration by beating more slowly, more steadily, and more efficiently throughout the entire night. This strategic temperature drop also significantly aids in the natural production of melatonin, a potent antioxidant hormone that plays a crucial protective role for the heart muscle itself. So, how do we synthesize all of this vital information into a practical, actionable framework that you can immediately implement, starting as soon as tonight? My profound intention is not for you to simply listen to these insights and be left feeling burdened with worry or overwhelmed by the sheer volume of information. On the contrary, I want you to feel profoundly empowered, recognizing that you are the ultimate CEO of your own invaluable health. I am now going to provide you with a comprehensive, heart-safe evening routine, a pragmatic step-by-step plan specifically tailored for individuals navigating their 60s and 70s, designed to function as an impenetrable shield for your heart while you peacefully dream. Firstly, establish a firm kitchen closing time of no later than 7:00 p.m. If your usual bedtime is 10 or 11 p.m., this 7:00 p.m. cutoff is absolutely vital and non-negotiable. This means no more substantial heavy snacks, no more impulsive midnight forays to the refrigerator for a slice of cheese or leftover chicken. You must grant your stomach a minimum 3-hour head start on digestion, ensuring that your heart is not compelled to engage in a strenuous blood flow war at midnight. If you genuinely experience hunger and find yourself struggling to sleep, a diminutive piece of fruit or a small handful of nuts is permissible, but strictly adhere to keeping it under 100 calories and ensure it remains exceptionally light. The overarching goal is to meticulously avoid any demanding digestive work for your body. Secondly, cultivate the habit of keeping a small glass of room temperature water positioned conveniently by your bedside. Should you awaken feeling parched during the night, take small measured sips. Crucially, ensure you have consumed a few ounces of this water approximately 1 hour before you physically lie down to proactively maintain your blood's optimal thinness and ensure its smooth, unimpeded flow. Remember, the key is gentle sipping, not rapid guzzling. Thirdly, immediately check your thermostat setting. If it is currently set at 72 or 74 degrees Fahrenheit, proactively adjust it downwards to the optimal range of 68 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit. If you find yourself concerned about feeling too cold, a simple and effective solution is to don a pair of warm socks. Keeping the feet comfortably warm paradoxically aids in maintaining the rest of the body's coolness, while allowing the ambient room air to remain crisp and invigorating. And fourthly, this is a truly life-saving tip that, regrettably, most people never encounter, and it pertains to the precise manner in which you conclude your sleep and begin your day. I urge you to diligently practice the slow rise. When you naturally awaken in the morning, resist the powerful urge to abruptly jump out of bed the instant your eyes flutter open. Even if you perceive yourself to be running late, or if your beloved pet is insistently barking for attention, your body has been comfortably resting in a low-pressure, horizontal state for many hours, with your blood naturally pooled in your torso. If you suddenly, impulsively, spring upright too quickly, your heart is forced to instantaneously scream into action, beating violently and fiercely to contend with the immediate challenge of gravity and rapidly propel blood upwards to your brain. This abrupt morning jolt is precisely when a disproportionately large percentage of acute cardiovascular events tragically occur. Instead, cultivate the habit of sitting calmly on the edge of your bed for a full 1 or 2 minutes. While seated, gently move your ankles in circular motions, stretch your arms luxuriously, and take a few deep, deliberate breaths, allowing your blood pressure to gradually stabilize and your body's intricate plumbing system to smoothly adjust to the upright position. Grant your extraordinary heart the precious opportunity to gently wake up alongside you. This is such a remarkably simple practice, yet it represents the fundamental distinction between commencing your day with a safe, measured start and precipitating a dangerous, sudden physiological spike. Throughout my many decades in the demanding field of medicine, I have witnessed thousands of patients. I have observed, with profound sadness, those who chose to disregard these subtle preliminary warning signs, convinced they were in perfect health, only to tragically find themselves rushed into the chaos of the emergency room. And conversely, I have also had the immense privilege of witnessing those wise individuals who took these critical words deeply to heart, embracing the advised changes, and thereby dramatically altering the trajectory of their future health. The profound difference between these two paths is rarely found in the realm of expensive, complex surgeries or in some miraculous, elusive pill touted in a late-night infomercial. The genuine, life-altering distinction resides, instead, within these small, quiet, yet profoundly impactful nightly choices that you, and only you, make within the private sanctuary of your own home. Your magnificent heart has been faithfully beating for you, without a single moment of cessation, every single second since the very genesis of your life. It has never once indulged in a day off. It has never once demanded a reward or recognition. It has tirelessly worked through your moments of profound stress, your moments of unbridled joy, and your moments of intense struggle. The very least we can reciprocate as we gracefully navigate the process of aging is to ensure that we provide it with a safe, refreshingly cool, and profoundly peaceful environment in which to rest for those crucial 8 hours tonight. Before you conclude this video and commence your evening routine, I humbly extend 3 small yet significant requests for your consideration. Firstly, if the information meticulously presented herein resonated with you, if it sparked a new understanding within your own body, and if you genuinely feel you gleaned something novel and vital, I earnestly urge you to subscribe to this channel. I dedicate my time and expertise to diligently sifting through the most current medical journals and rigorously evaluating the latest clinical trials, all with the singular aim of bringing you the unvarnished truth about the aging process, articulated in a manner that is both effortlessly comprehensible and genuinely practical for the rhythms of your daily life. Secondly, please consider taking a moment to hit that like button. While it may appear to you as a negligible click, it sends an unequivocal signal to the complex algorithms of the YouTube computer, communicating that this message is unequivocally life-saving. This simple action helps me immensely in extending my reach to countless other seniors across the country who are, perhaps unknowingly, at significant risk tonight and yet remain completely unaware of why they consistently feel so inexplicably tired or why their heart sporadically races in the pervasive darkness. Thirdly, I implore you to leave a comment below. A simple yet powerful declaration. Just type, "I'm protecting my heart tonight." When you consciously commit those words to text, you are not merely engaging in a routine comment for the sake of the video's metrics. You are, in that very act, making a profound personal commitment to yourself. You are unequivocally deciding that your precious health and the promise of your future are worth far more than the fleeting gratification of a late-night snack or the temporary comfort of an overly warm room. It is a solemn promise. It is a public declaration to conscientiously care for the one irreplaceable heart you possess. And finally, if you cherish a friend, a beloved spouse, or a dear sibling who has crossed the threshold of 60 years of age, I earnestly request that you share this vital video with them. We are truly all interconnected in this journey of life. You may never fully comprehend the extent of your impact, but through this simple act of sharing, you could very well be the profound reason someone you deeply love awakens to embrace the dawn and behold the radiant sun tomorrow morning. I am Dr. Josh Axe. Thank you for graciously dedicating your valuable time. Thank you for placing your precious trust in these insights. And thank you, above all, for taking your invaluable health with the seriousness it profoundly deserves. Take extraordinary care of your heart. Tonight, sleep exceptionally well.